Hello there, and welcome back to the SWTVC podcast, the audio home of the SWTVC crew and the ongoing push for the continued existence, expansion, and success of the heritage scale of Star Wars collecting. I'm your host, Evan, and today I am joined by my SWTVC teammates, Tyler, Lewis, and John. How you guys doing today?
Oh, yeah, good.
Doing all right. A little bit tired, but hopefully I'll sound energetic for this.
Yeah.
Feeling festive here in this final stretch of the year.
Yes, indeed. And since it is the final stretch of the year, we figured it would be a good time for us all to come together, chat, and do one final 2023 wrap-up episode to kind of look back at the year and, you know, be merry and all of that. So pass the Tylenol. All right, before we get into the year in review, though, let's do the usual here at the top of the show, mail call. Guys, what's coming in for y'all? I hear the chopper wave has been shipping here in the U.S. lately. Mine shipped, but I don't have them in hand yet. Do any of you?
Yeah, I got the case from Entertainment Earth a few weeks ago, and so I've been able to open the figures that were packed 2 per case in that case, which are Hera and Pre Vizsla, both of which are outstanding figures. The Hera is an all-new sculpt, and she just looks amazing. And Pre is a really smart reuse of some of the Mandalorian parts from last year, plus some important newness. And he's talked about it a million times. He almost won March Madness in 2022, and this is the season 4 and 5 version that has never been made, even in the animated style. So I'd love to get some more Clone Wars figures from that era where they weren't really making the animated figures as much. And yeah, the rest of them are on the way from Hasbro Pulse, so I'm waiting for those to kind of pop up before I can open those guys.
Nice. Tyler, do you have these?
No, not yet. I think they're supposed to come from GameStop tomorrow. Thank you for reminding me that I need to cancel my case from Entertainment Earth.
Yeah.
John, because they take forever
processing.
and a half these days. Oh, mine's not even processing. Mine still says February.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where mine was. And then it wouldn't be an SWTVC podcast episode without a shameless Evan plug for GameStop. GameStop, they got our money. GameStop. Yeah, they shipped on the day they said they would, 12/6. I got shipping notifications from GameStop and Hasbro Pulse for that wave. So I think those arrive on Monday.
GameStop's been where it's at lately. I don't know what's up with them, but
isn't that their slogan? Wasn't that that was the slogan for something? It's
GameStop, where it's at.
Yeah, whatever.
I have no idea.
I didn't even know that.
I'm making that up.
Lewis, do you have these, right? You got these probably when we were all in diapers.
Well, no, I think I got them about a week or 2 ago, but it was a bit weird with us. The previous wave, it seemed to have been held up here. It'd been showing up in the odd figure, but not as an entire wave. So I think all of you guys got the Thrawn wave before I did, which is unusual.
Yeah.
But then all of these dropped literally in the same week for me. So the 2 waves have kind of merged into one. I mean, I just had this kind of 12 figures just land on my doorstep. So I love it. I mean, this and the last wave, they're both great. So yeah, I played with them a little bit. I haven't really had much chance to pull them around and pose them and do what I can. But I mean, from what I have done with them, they are all amazing figures. Actually, it's hard to pick a favorite, and it's hard to say that there's one that I don't really like. I mean, they're all great. So.
Yeah. I know the Galaxy of Heroes Jedi Revan and HK-47 set also shipped out fairly recently. So that's how I have a Revan, is from that set. I have the Jedi Revan. So, it's just a repaint of the one that's in the main line. So I kind of know what to expect. I like that figure quite a bit. It does have some frustrating articulation limitations, but
I feel like that one, the skirt is a little bit tighter. So I think it inhibits the legs a little bit more than the Darth Revan version.
Really? Okay.
But again, I haven't played with them too much, but just because again, they dropped in the same week. I mean, I just had so much stuff come in the same week. Yeah. And so for me, I was able to have them both, open them both at the same time together. And for me, I don't know why the Darth Revan, I don't know, they're nice. They're both nice, but I feel that one just has a little bit more posability to it.
Well, I'm now more excited for Revan to come in, who's sold out everywhere, actually, I've noticed. Yeah. I was trying to order another one. I have my 2 coming. Ooh, yeah, but I wanted a just-in-case one. So it's just how things ship, and sometimes aren't always minty, and it's a numbers game, guys. So let's see what else we got. I know here in the States, we've got discount chain Ross, Dress for Less. They've been the holiday hotspot this year, apparently receiving tons and tons and tons and tons of unsold stock of Hasbro product, of all companies' product, but lots of Hasbro product. Folks have been finding some really great deals. John, you got a little list of them here.
Yeah, just this is all old news to anyone near an Ollie's, because you guys get truckloads of stuff every day, it seems like, over on the East Coast. But yeah, people have been finding the rescue set from a couple of years ago, the convention exclusive, I believe last year, for $20. Random figures for $4. Some of the Walmart deluxe sets for $6. There's been Walmart exclusives, Target exclusives, fan channel exclusives. You know, of course, being a clearance vulture is not healthy for the line in any way, shape, or form, but there are deals to be had if you go hunting for them, if you can dig through the piles of stuff in the the war zone that is Ross. But maybe you get some stocking stuffers for family members that need it, or some cheap vintage collection stuff for toy donations or something. So just keep your peepers popped there, folks.
Apparently they're clearing their warehouses ready for Cassian and Finn later on in the year.
Yeah, those figures are fan channel figures, and I have a feeling that'll be early 2024. I have a feeling Christmas 2026 we'll be seeing thousands of those two figures hitting discount chains. So can't wait. Oh man. Well, hey, we're here. It's December of 2023. Hard to believe, isn't it, guys? It just flew by, man. When you're having fun with the vintage collection, it just goes. So TVC did have a healthy year overall. Looking at it, pulling back, looking at it from far back. I've kind of put together some rough numbers of how the line fared this year, kind of, what we're looking at in terms of newness, some media coverage. John, thank you for jumping in and helping me clean this up a little bit, because there was stuff I was unsure of, especially when it came to the balance the scales beat of things. Since I don't have a lot of those Black Series things in hand, since I don't buy them anymore, it was harder to figure it out. And one of us still buys those every once in a while.
Yes. I'll focus on the compliment and the thanking and ignore the rest. So
everything terrible I say is just a manifestation of my hatred for myself, and I just need to drag you down with me.
Nice.
But some disclaimers here. These numbers that we have, that I have, I'm not going to say we, sorry to rope you guys into this, that I have here, are looking at it, one, through the lens of a calendar year and what the majority of the consumers and collectors actually see or can purchase during the calendar year. Yes, we know some things are from the end of 2022 and some of the early 2024 budgets, like the Cal wave, I think being a 2022 budget wave, Hera being 2024, whatever. It's messy. It's weird, but, it's dicey. And I know the Cal Kestis wave that we in the States got at the beginning of 2023 did start hitting outside of the States at the end of 2022, but it wasn't super widely available, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly not for anyone in the US. Obviously, that wave was not available until about February here. So I'm counting it. Again, this is all based on what the majority can actually see and purchase through the official retail channels in the calendar year. There's a couple numbers here that will need a little bit more explanation as to what they mean. We'll dive into a couple things. Bear with me. Here they are. All right. So 2023, 80 figures, 5 vehicles, 2 play sets, and 1 beast.
2 beasts, actually.
2 beasts, actually. Thank you. You can take 2 all new away for a couple small characters. We'll talk about that here in a second. John, will you read us the figure newness?
Oh my goodness. So yes, according to these numbers, there were 18 all new figures, 22.5% of the line. 27 partial tools, 34% of the line, including figures that are so close to being all new sculpts, including the Phase 2 Clone Trooper, who is entirely new except for the head, which appears to be a reuse of one of the ARC Trooper heads that we've been seeing since the 501st Legion ARC Trooper pack a couple years ago. Kind of going back to last year, I know the Ahsoka Corvus figure had reused hands from her Clone Wars Mandalore edition, which again, it's like 95% new, but just for the purposes of this exercise, has to count as a partial tool. So 18 repaints and kit bashes, 22.5% of the line. 17 repacks, 21% of the line. And that includes photoreal updates. Yes. I believe. When we talk about repaints, it's more like to make a different trooper or whatever.
So like the upcoming Cassian and Finn would be, so compared to 2022, 2022 saw 6 all new figures. So we have an increase of 12, tripled the output there. There were 26 partial tools in 2022. So that was an increase of 1. It's pretty consistent. There were 27 kit bash repaint figures in 2022. So there was a decrease of 9 this year. And then 18 repacks, a decrease of 1. That's pretty good, especially on the newness front. I know 2022 was kind of a lean year, and going into how things kind of fall. Like I said, the Cal wave being technically 2022, that would bring 2022 to 9 sculpts, and that would take 3 away from 2023. But then there was also a 2022 wave that hit at the end of 2021. So it's a sliding scale. It's kind of hard to nail down the budget year stuff. So that's why I just go by calendar.
Do we want to go over the all new figures just to throw them out there what they are? All right.
Yes. So the all new figures in 2023 are, in order of however the Google sheet just put them down for me. Morgan Elsbeth, HK-87 Assassin Droid, General Harrison Dula, C-110P Chopper, Sabine Wren, Cassian Andor, Vel Sartha, Cal Kestis BD-1, Darth Revan, Grand Inquisitor, Admiral Piet, Hunter, Bib Fortuna Tatooine, Cad Bane, Chrysanthemum, Paz Vizsla, and Grogu from the N1 Starfighter. There are 2 in there to remove if you want to. You guys brought up a good point about that this morning. BD-1 and Grogu being small pack-in characters. I left them in. My justification is that since they're named mains in these stories, and I know they're accessory sized, and I'm sure Hasbro loves that there's so many characters that are tiny accessory sized. So if you take them out, it brings us to 16 all new. But
and I think because we've been counting Grogu since he was introduced a couple of years ago, so that's kind of why they're still in there, right?
Yes.
So
yeah. I mean, if a figure has its own card back, I guess that counts as a character that you can count as a figure. I know with the card back, he's got the pram and the other bits, but for me, Grogu, I think you can just about get away with counting him as a figure. Yeah. I'll let Tyler talk about BD-1 because I know he's the one that brought it up.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I totally agree. Again, that was just my justification for it, but yeah.
So a couple other things to mention here is that, yes, it includes Bib Fortuna Tatooine from the Book of Boba Fett playset, which was solicited last year but showed up in hand this year, as well as a couple deluxe world-building figures like Paz Vizsla, Sabine Wren, and Chrysanthemum, who, they cost more, but the deluxe expression helps to add more newness to the line overall, which is a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just in terms of the numbers, so it is interesting to see that there was a little bit less of, kit bash and repaints, repacks. So there was definitely more all new newness, but and a little bit more in the partial tool category. So it's interesting to see that, people do kind of complain about the repacks. It didn't feel as egregious this year, the number of like wacky repaints.
Yeah.
I know we got at least some of the Boba Fett figures in hand this year and some of the ARC Troopers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a pretty smart reuse of assets this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue in terms of repacks this year would have been the ones that were the Target exclusive deluxe sets that were repacks of mainline figures that hit at the same time, essentially, which was a little questionable. I'm speaking, of course, of the Tusken Warrior and the Jedi Training Luke Skywalker, or Jedi Academy Luke Skywalker, which are both currently easily found in mass quantities at any Target near you. So for $27.99.
Yeah, for maybe not for long, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Did we want to break down some of the repaints, and do you want me to list the figures in each one, or just the all new? Just stick to the all new.
What do you guys think? We could, but then that's ultimately 80 figures you're reading off.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that's not
to read off,
exciting.
isn't it? No.
We can just talk about some of the highlights, I guess. But
Yeah, pick out some of the important ones. I mean, there's some that, although they're partial tools, they're as good as new figures. You know, when you think of the Jabba Denizens pack and things like that.
Yeah, we saw a lot of really smart reuse of modern pieces from things like new media, all new figures. We saw a lot of reuse of relevant new modern standard things. Like you said, Lewis, the Jabba's Denizens, you know, we had Tessic using parts from Cal Kestis to make him possible.
And even he had Bib Fortuna's arms, which I didn't even realize until I saw some reviews. And
yeah.
Smart reuse of existing modern parts, so it doesn't feel like, you know, you're using 2006 pieces or whatever. There were some of those in there too, but
yes, there were. 2004, actually, if you go look at your favorite figure of the year, John. But yeah, and you know, I look at, you know, some of the things like Jedi Revan, just as we talked about him earlier. The Jedi one is just a repaint of the dark side one, and yet it's still an exciting reuse of something that people have asked for. It's cool. And a lot of surprising newness as well this year too, in terms of the Obi-Wan pack. I was shocked that they threw as much newness as they did in that set, when I kind of was anxious about it for the 10 months that we waited for it to be revealed after being pipelined. So,
and then there were two really smart, all new or close to all new figures, which the Imperial Officer and the Clone Trooper that have already provided dividends with lots of unique.
Let's hope they continue to.
Yeah. And hours of lively discussion for sure.
It's the year of the rank badge. Thank God for it.
That's what we need to do. We need to make a TVC Zodiac that's like the year of the rank badge.
The year of the wacky repaint.
Oh, man.
In terms of some of the wacky repaints, I guess, I did appreciate that they did the Ewok set. I know it's not the most exciting release of the year, but you know, if you're going to do droids, it's nice that we have the Ewoks in there as well.
Yeah,
I don't want too many of these a year, but sprinkled in every once in a while, it adds an element of goofy fun that I
it's a little
appreciate.
cherry on top.
Yeah. Could have been nice to have more Ewoks for the actual Return of the Jedi 40th, but that's all right.
Yeah. You know, repacks. We had one photo reel reissue wave, but then we had a couple other ones sprinkled throughout the main line as well. So it looks like they're kind of trying to revise or nail down how to get these 1.0 reissues out. I don't know. I was glad that we only saw the one wave, and it seemed to be fan channel. It didn't clog up retail. I have seen, you know, the is it the Weequay is the one that was in the mainline wave with the Tusken Warrior.
Yeah.
I've seen that start lingering. Same with Nine Numb. Those two have kind of not been hot sellers at Target and Walmart in my area. Anecdotally, I'm sure that changes. Hashtag OT always sells.
No, just the 9 Numb. I know I always talk about, you know, I think swivel hips are okay sometimes, and other people are very against that, which is great.
Some people. Well,
you know. But 9 Nun is just not a good figure. I said before, he's way too short. He's not that short in the movie. You know, you can say, oh, the actor was short, but he was a puppeteer in that movie. He wasn't, you know, the guy that's wearing the costume walking around in the movie was not as short as the figure. I wish they did not repack that guy. And then the ankle on mine immediately broke off. And then Evan nicely sent me another one, but now I can barely even move the ankle on that guy. It's just not they didn't even update the color of his face. I hate that figure. It's not good.
Yeah, I feel you. Do you guys want to jump into the non-figure stuff real quick? Or anything else on the figure front?
Swivel hips suck.
Yes. Yeah, I understand and I agree with the spirit of that, Tyler, but I also am inclined to go with the pick your battles, prioritize where you want the money spent, sort of thing.
I don't suppose you went through this list and actually counted how many swivel hips we got this year. I'd be curious to know. I mean, we've made it pretty clear to Hasbro that hips are probably one of the oldest things they were still using up until a point. I know at Celebration, it was something we brought up to Emily, wasn't it? I think it was in one of our questions we asked her. You know, and so they're well aware of it, and it seems to be that something they are desperately trying to get rid of. So I'd be curious to know actually how many swivel hips are there compared to last year.
off the top of my head, at least 6, right? Chewbacca,
Right.
and then the skiff guards, the 5 of those.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Plus-
Rees. So
and Rees,
Star
and
Killer.
there's and two uses.
two Chewbaccas.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So,
And Star
so a
Killer.
lot of the reuse.
Yeah. Okay. So a nice handful.
Yeah, and again, so yes, my point is, yes, obviously, updated modern hips are ideal, but
Yeah.
if they're gonna, do background skiff guards necessarily need them, I don't think so. Some of those
Yeah.
figures from 10 years ago were still okay, in my opinion. Just get them out again. Some are not, so it is kind of a case by case basis.
The one that bothered me was Star Killer because that came out at the same time Black Series was getting an all new Star Killer,
Right.
that can do everything, whereas ours is like, nah, he can
Plus
kind of do a running man, and that's
There's
it.
also the Klatooinian Raider, which is of course based on the Weequay. So I guess
Yes.
that's maybe 10 swivel hips at least that we've counted so far.
Too many.
Yeah.
The appropriate number would be 0.
For sure. Ultimately, I agree, but yeah. So the line saw vehicles, of course. 2023 was a nice vehicle year. We got 2 all-new vehicles, 2 repaints, and 1 repacked vehicle in the ATST Raider. Is that what it's called? I don't remember. I remember buying it in 2019,
Not the Raider.
2020.
Oh, are you counting that?
No, not that. Sorry. The ATST from Return of the Jedi. Thank
Yes,
you.
and I
My
would count
brain
that.
just mashed them together. So
I would count that as a repaint, and I'm sorry that I did not catch that because it does have it has a very
Okay.
nice update to the paint. So
okay. Yeah, then
Um,
I accept that revision. That's why we're talking.
sure,
So.
yes. Some of these I did check, and I didn't check close enough. But however you count it, 5 new vehicles this year, pretty awesome. 5, new-ish, updated in some regard. Kind of amazing.
and one that we had been asking for a long, long time, the speeder bike. So we weren't asking for it to be all new. There was a perfectly acceptable one out there, and we've talked about that before, but whatever. We got a speeder bike in the line, and it has already seen a smart reuse since. So they're kind of doing some of the things that we've talked about. And when I say we, I don't mean the 4 of us sitting here on this podcast. I just mean we collectively as a community have talked about. So play sets are still a thing happening in the world building scale. We got 2 all new play sets in the Boba Fett's throne room stand-in Jabba, and the Endor bunker, which was a nice little surprise too. So yeah, what do you guys think of those?
Yeah, 2 good sets. The Jabba's, the Boba Fett's throne room, I think is a great set. I think, all the accessories that come with it. I mean, people moan about the price, but I think it's good value, and I think that what is in that set is amazing. I think it looks great as a piece on the shelf, and it's got adaptability, hasn't it? You can set it up in either or. Most people will probably put Jabba in there, but I think that's a fantastic set, and I'd like to see more of those of that size. From that Pulse exclusive.
Yep, absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it more later on when we sort of go over the whole year looking back. But I think this was a well balanced year because it offered something like that, but also a HasLab. And that's kind of like an ideal year for me. Is you have small vehicles, and then you have sort of medium sized diorama pieces like the bunker. And then you've got something large like the throne room, and then you have something extra large like a HasLab. I mean, that's like ideal, checking all the boxes. That's like a perfect TVC year for me, ideally.
Plus, we got the not to go back one category, but the Mandalorians in one Starfighter was great to see. In terms of
that
just,
too, yeah.
Like you said, hitting all the different price points between.
So good.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a great ship, and it was nice that it seemed to have sold quite well for them, as they
Absolutely.
mentioned.
Yeah.
And so both the wider releases that you can actually see in stores, plus these Hasbro Pulse things, plus these HasLabs, it's a nice mix. In terms of, again, you'll not be surprised that I have not opened Boba Fett's throne room, as I find space for these giant things we keep getting all the time, which are great. Keep them coming, but give me some time to catch up, for the love of God. But the indoor bunker was nice in terms of the fact that it was tied to several other releases, the speeder bike and the ATST. and some of the figures in the line. It could have been better, could have been more to go with it, of course, but I really appreciated the world building around that beat. If they're going to, they didn't go super wide on everything, but they said, okay, we're going to look at the indoor area. There's some stuff we can get out, some repaints and repacks, a couple new things, a nice little entry point for,
and clever reuse with like the rebel in the scout trooper disguise. That was for sure. That was clever. That was clever. I know that scout trooper body is not ideal still, but whatever.
They're chipping away. They're chipping away at it. It's getting there.
One day it's the scout trooper of Theseus. It keeps getting updates every so often.
That's kind of what they did with the Stormtrooper. I mean, think about it. 2019 VC 140 rolls around. We're like, we did it. We got the definitive Stormtrooper, and then they just keep adding little things to it. It's like, oh, it gets better. Oh, okay, cool.
When we were talking about, again, to go back, talking about the hips, I remember a few years ago we were also focused on rocker ankles, and then they kind of fixed that, and they're like, all right, we're done, thank God. And they're like, not so fast. You could do better on the hips.
Yeah.
And they did better on the hips, and now that's the thing. And then now we're saying, now you can get a little bit better on the elbows too. So it's always, which body part are we going to focus on this year, I wonder.
I will say, though, I think the rocker ankles to me was more important than the slight upgrade to the hip system, where if something goes from no rocker ankles to rocker ankles, I think that is a complete game changer for that figure. Whereas if something goes from a good hip system to a really good hip system, it's like, okay, I mean, that money could have gone to maybe something else newer, but whatever. So, I mean, I get it. I think
the problem is it spoils us, doesn't it? Because then we look at everything in comparison to the latest thing we've got in our hand. And that's where you're always going back and thinking, we could do with an update on that figure now, and we could do with an update on that. And that's where I guess we want so much out of it that Hasbro are doing really well in what they're giving us, but it's sort of a double-edged sword, really, because they're just making a rod for their own back by giving us stuff that's too good.
Yeah. So, how dare they?
Not that they shouldn't.
Well, I remember a few years ago, people would say, Woof was one of their favorite figures from TVC 1.0, and then they repack it this year, and then they say, well, now it doesn't have rocker ankles and it doesn't have updated hips, and it's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and then going back to Tyler, what you were saying of having a big item like the throne room and then the really big item like the HasLab, we kind of had the throne room kind of felt like an experiment with that pulse only model. It was like a HasLab that wasn't a HasLab sort of thing where I think it was 16 to 18 months of us pre-ordering it in February of 2022. And then it showed up in August, July, September, sometime here in 2023. Long time, kind of like a HasLab time scale. But I really like that. And I want to see them embrace that and try that kind of more alongside the giant centerpiece items. I liked that a lot. For sure. So it was the HasLab without the stress of having to campaign and it's never going to happen sort of thing.
Absolutely.
It is still available now, isn't it? And I know they did announce it was being closed, they were going to be pulling it, and they didn't say it would never come back. So in fairness to them, they haven't broken any promises per se, but it kind of felt like that was it. If you didn't get it at that time, that was it. And obviously now it's there. And I think recently in the UK, it is back up to normal price now, but it went down. You could get it as a premium member for about 130 quid.
I have to wonder if those were canceled ones because people prioritized the Ghost, I really do wonder about that.
Possibly.
Because that charged at the same time the Ghost was closing the HasLab window. So there was a lot hitting then.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like for me personally, I had two ordered and I canceled one of them because of the Ghost. So I mean, I'm just one person. Yeah. So how many other dozens of hundreds of people, whatever, canceled one or more?
Yeah, and it wasn't just the Ghost. It dropped. There was a lot of things dropping around that time, not just figures. I think. Perhaps one of the other vehicles may have been the AT,
the N1 was about
there was something else that came out. The M1. Yeah, I think there was definitely a lot for people to take on.
And then the skiff guards were supposed to come out.
Yeah. They're still dropping pre-orders like little breadcrumbs throughout the year, but then everything will ship in these giant chunks of like 3 or 4 times throughout the year.
Yeah.
In terms of the throne room, they did say that more quantities might be available when it goes in stock. So I think that was a way to say, encourage. If you want it, you should pre-order it. But, if you can't get it right now, it will be in stock later at some point. But they didn't want to firmly say, yes, it's going to definitely be in stock once it comes in. So I give them a little bit of wiggle room on that one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious to see what they do with it. If this was successful for them, if they do this kind of offering again, I hope they do, because I think this is a fantastic piece and I hope it sold well. I feel like everyone who got it is over the moon about it. So yeah. And I'm glad that it is still available, so that there's not a gate thrown up in front of it that, oh, you missed it.
No, totally.
This is something that people can go back like, hey, I didn't have the $200 and some here. I'm glad I can get this now 6, 7, 8 months later. And wow, dang, this thing's amazing. Hasbro still gets money for it. We all win. So whatever. Okay. Well, we're to it now. So Beasts have made a triumphant return to the vintage collection in the form of the Massive, which was all new. The first one of those since, when was it? 2003 was when the Massive was last done.
Yeah, it's from 2002 with the Geonosian, but then it's repacked in
2002.
2003 with the Tuscan, or late 2002.
Okay, so this was all new, and it was packed in with a repack of questionably the Tuscan Warrior as a deluxe set for Target. Beast is really nice, but it was a little under-articulated, so I remember, whatever, I'm editorializing here with my disappointment, but overall, it's a very nice sculpt. And then we also got, is his name Mur, the Lothcat? Sabine's Lothcat? Merly, Sabine's Lothcat in her deluxe set, which I completely forgot in my counting here, but yes, nice little beast. Not articulated outside of the head, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But still nice to have. It's another creature we've never had before, isn't it? So,
yeah.
You know, it's great.
And it's going to lead to the white one with Ezra, and I'm sure they can. I'd like more of these Massives. We've said it before, but it was funny at, I think, London MCM Comic Con, they had like 5 or 6 Tuscan Warriors all paired together to show that you can get a bunch of them with the Massives. I'm like, well, there's only one of them, but, we've talked about it before, but it would be nice to have it now that they're introducing more creature packs. It would be nice to have another chance at the Massive and, different paint variations of the Lothcat and stuff like that.
Yeah. Of the 6 Tuscan Raiders they have in modern TVC over the last year and a half, they picked the one that was not army buildable.
Yeah.
But oh well. John, you have a note here that you just added frantically on the fly while we were talking. Wait, there's 7 more.
We forgot the most important creatures of the year, the frogs.
Jeez.
Grogu's frogs.
Okay, you know what?
Because we really needed more of those.
You can't give me crap about BD1.
For counting BD1, we need to count. Stop the presses, add 7 to the creatures. There's 7 frogs, including 1 new sculpt that was reused twice, and then 4 reuses of the previously released frog. But
God bless you, John.
It's a small thing, but I will say these small, tiny things, they do add a lot of character to the line. They add, the Luke and Grogu set. I like that for and Luke's a repack of the mainline one. Grogu's a repack, but all the accessories are nice. It helps build out little scenes. So I appreciate that.
That Luke set that's a fantastic deluxe set. If you remove the part that Luke is just a repack of the one that was also on pegs for $10 less. If you remove that giant hurdle, that set is a very nice set with Luke, Grogu, and a bunch of accessories. So I really do like that.
Yeah.
So and I had fun with it.
And last note on that, I know we've moved on, but the fact that they released these figures in that set and on a card, I think is something that we have asked for before. They always address things, and it takes like 2 years for them to actually do something about it. So it's like, a few years ago, and we're still, saying if you put a figure out, they should be on a card.
Yep.
So now they said, well, we're putting them in a deluxe, and they're going to be on a mainline card. Here you go. You wanted them on a card. Here you go. And now we're saying
malicious compliance.
It's interesting though.
I hope that they do that with Django, for example.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that.
It's interesting though. Which ones are we seeing? Are you seeing sitting more, the deluxe ones or the carded ones, or are we seeing both? Because it's interesting to see what people, obviously we know there's a lot of carded collectors out there who will pick up the Luke on the card. As an opener, I want all the accessories, but I did pick up a carded copy as well. It'd be interesting.
I very rarely see carded figures around me, so.
I was going to say, carded figures mainline TVC is sometimes hard to come by at retail here in the States. I've only seen the Luke on card a couple times. My store's actually just restocked the wave that the Tuscan Warrior was in, so I'm starting to see her pile up on card at Walmart. But yeah, like those two figures, I don't think have ever hit my target. So, and since those are only, I think there were 1 or 2 per case, whereas the deluxes are 8 solid pack case of 8
on their own.
I see more
peg.
of the deluxe.
Yeah, so you're gonna, obviously gonna get more. No, it makes sense.
And because so all of the deluxe figures are on their own, like DPCI at Target, their own SKU, their own peg. So it is easier for them to get to the stores, and then people see them and they freak out and they say, "Oh my God, peg warmer! They should have never done this." Yeah, there are like 5 at once right now at Target, but I guess we'll see what happens with them.
But so theoretically, if any one of the deluxe sets, like say around me, there's a lot of Pazes and a lot of Tusken Warrior with massives. They could clearance those individually without clearancing the
correct.
Luke and we saw them do that with the Dark Trooper earlier this year, because I remember I got a couple for like $7.49. Right. Again, not to be a clearance vulture, I already had several, but yeah.
But when they put them on sale, and some sites put them on sale before they even hit stores, so it's like, well, obviously you're going to take advantage of that.
Yeah. I certainly did. I bought 34 of them, and I made them rain. But literally,
yeah. All right, so this year, TVC saw some pretty decent media coverage, but there were, some major Star Wars media releases this year. So let's kind of go through those real quick. We got The Mandalorian Season 3 earlier this year, which saw 1 all-new figure in the N1 Grogu, and 1 repainted figure, R5-D4, and 1 all-new vehicle, the N1 Starfighter.
Plus Mando from that N1 Starfighter, right?
Yes.
There's a retool, repaint, whatever he is.
Yeah, I didn't throw him in here, but yes. We also had concurrently running with Mando for a little while, the Bad Batch Season 2, which we got 0 figures from. We got 2 Season 1 figures, though, in the form of Hunter, all new, and everybody's figure of the year, Captain Hauser, formerly Captain Ballast. So I'm glad that took up a mainline spot. So important. Ahsoka Season 1 aired a little bit ago. We got 6 figures from that show, 5 being all new and 1 being a repaint. Encouraging.
That's pretty outstanding. Honestly, they should be applauded on that.
Yep.
They did a lot more than I thought they would for that. I mean, I guess we can say that a couple of those, 2 of those are technically on the 2024 budget, but again, I don't care.
About what you've got in hand. Yep.
Yes. Jedi Survivor was also a big smash hit for them this year, not Hasbro, but for, Lucasfilm, for the Star Wars brand. Big thing. It got 2 all new figures this year. Yes, I'm counting BD1, but 1 if you want to exclude him, and then his, whatever. So Cal Kestis, which we've been asking for since the Jedi Fallen Order days. We still need the Fallen Order look, but
and Trilla.
You know what? Thank God we finally have Cal in the line. Yes, and Trilla, but
it's a start.
It's a start. We still have a long journey ahead of us, but
indeed,
that's what it is. And then we've talked about it a couple times already, but Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary was a big beat in terms of the Star Wars fandom and all of that this year. So TVC got 19 figures for Return of the Jedi. 1 was all new in the form of Piet, which has led to other things. 10 partial tools and 8 repacks. We got 2 vehicles, which 1 was all new, 1 was a repaint. Thank you, John. And then 2 play sets from a certain point of view, if you want to count the Boba Fett's throne room as Jabba's throne room, which I think is fair play. Thoughts on that, guys? Are you pleased overall of the things that were relevant in the public consciousness in terms of Star Wars having presence in the vintage collection? Or do you think, I mean, obviously they can do more. We'd love them to do more, but
as we said, Ahsoka was a good, case example of what we want them to be doing. It was, figures relevant, released around or shortly after the series came out. Mando Season 3 is kind of the opposite of that, and Bad Batch is the extreme opposite of that.
Yeah.
But because we know Jon Favreau keeps his secrets very close to everything, close to the chest. He thinks every single thing is going to be a new Grogu moment, and it's just not. Is Vane the Pirate really going to need to be something you completely hold back from licensors? I don't think so, man. Come on.
Yeah.
But
the pipeline is full of Mando Season 3 figures, by the way.
but it's nothing that we didn't like already know. You know, it's just two rando Mandos from the background and another Din and Grogu. So it's, you know, we're waiting on those. We're waiting on, you know, Moff Gideon and his troopers and all the exciting things from the latter half of the season.
Yeah.
But so again, Ahsoka is very nice. Again, there's a lot more. We need Balin, we need Shin, but it was nice to see that. And then
Marok. I still want Marok too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I mentioned that when we were talking the other day in one of our chats where, you know, I've seen kind of going back to where I don't see a whole lot of I don't see a lot of mainline TVC around me outside of GameStop getting stuff. You know, Walmart will occasionally get a case and then it's gone. And then whenever they restock, it's usually from a couple waves ago. Like I'm now seeing with the, you know, Tusken Warrior wave and whatever kind of making an appearance again. But I've seen the Black Series waves for Ahsoka. There's 2 waves with Ahsoka figures. I've seen those waves multiple times now. They keep replenishing them and adding to the piles at my stores, which good for them, whatever. But I've never seen Merrick once in the wild, that 6-inch Merrick. I've never seen him. So he's obviously selling well. Out of all the figures, Ezra's piling up, which is weird. He
sold out in retro. Marok as well sold out in retro on a lot of the fan channels over here. I think you can still get them in a few places, but oddly enough, none of the others have. So, you know, read what you will into that.
Well, I was going to say, you know, there's plenty of times that we talk about, and I know we worry of something like, you know, with the Client being something that people can get for $1 now in 6-inch because it just failed miserably on that scale. No one wanted it. You know, we worry
they don't have a playset for it. That's why.
Yeah. But like, does something failing in 6-inch, it hurts our chances of getting it in 3 3/4 inch. But also, if something is so wildly successful, put that on the docket immediately to get that out for 3 3/4 inch collectors. Because obviously there is a hunger, there is a demand for some of these things. So I don't know.
For sure.
No, I was going to say, I think when you look at the 6 figures, you know, I think it's a good turnout for TVC, especially when you look in the past of what we've had for some, you know, new media. We've been really struggling. But it is still frustrating when we get 6 and we think, oh, that's good. And then you look at what Black Series are getting and they get, 10? I don't even know what the figures are. But, you know, we see them figures they're getting that we don't have. And again, that's where it always stings a little bit. And you try not to look too much, you know, and say, oh, I want that because they've got it. You know, you try and appreciate what you've got in front of you. But it does always still feel a little bit like, you know, you've done well. You can have those, but we're not going to give you these ones. And that's where sometimes it's just a little bit, you know, a little bit bitter. But, you know, they're great figures. I can't moan about what we have got. They're great.
For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One thing I've noticed about that wave is that I've only seen Thrawn on pegs, I think, once, and maybe Morgan once, maybe not at all. I'm trying to remember, but it's interesting. I've seen the Grand Inquisitor and Luke and the HK droid a number of times, and Ahsoka once or twice, but Thrawn and Morgan, interestingly, seem to be the quickest ones to go. And I'm looking, I see they're the ones that are, you know, 1 per case, along with Luke. So maybe that's part of it, but, you know, it's just interesting.
It's interesting you bring that up because I see, so in the Black Series Ahsoka offerings, the ones that I'm seeing piling up are Morgan and Ezra. Whereas I haven't seen the vintage collection Morgan near as frequently. Again, we rarely ever see that wave, but it's interesting to see how that kind of shook out for those. I'm curious why Ezra's peg warming. Is it because he wasn't effectively in the show in that outfit? Maybe people are looking at that like, oh, I didn't see that character. Blink and you miss it in a hologram. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If I can bring up a couple 2022 shows real quick, just to say with the 18-month thing. And we've
please do.
Evan,
it includes one of my favorites. So
your balance of scale stuff. Yeah. So obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, we got a couple great new figures recently, 2 retools and a all new with Grand Inquisitor, and then the Obi-Wan versus Vader Showdown or Duel's End 2-pack, which was awesome to see. So again, some of these, I get, it would be nice to see, it was nice to see some of the main looks of these characters released close to the show, and then some of the more spoilery end of season looks later on, which is, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And then we got a huge beat for Book of Boba Fett this year, 18 months after that show was out, which again, Mr. Favreau, please, for the love of God, be a little bit, we can know that Tusken Raiders are going to be in the show. I don't think that's a huge spoiler.
Yeah.
But So it would have been nice to get some of those earlier, but it was very nice to get a good selection. And then most of them, there's a couple that are in Black Series that TVC doesn't have, like Cobb Vanth and the Pike Soldier, but a lot of the other ones are pretty balanced, which was nice to see. And then in terms of Return of the Jedi, like I said, they focused so much on Endor. They also didn't really do anything new for A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back this year in terms of original trilogy, but I was happy to see them focus. Sometimes the focus means excluding other things, but if, all their original trilogy focus was on Return of the Jedi for the 40th, which I thought was nice, instead of just getting a little bit an unsatisfying one or two things from each movie, it was nice to see a bunch from just Return of the Jedi. So I thought that was good.
And again, it's a huge change from the Empire Strikes Back 40th, where we got that playset at the end of the year with no figures to go with it.
Slave One repack, which we got again this year.
Yeah.
That's why I was just sitting here thinking. I mean, when you compare it to Empire, we all expected it to be, pretty as lame as what we got for Empire, I guess. Yeah. And what they've given us, there's a lot of reuse there. There's a lot of partial tools, repacks, but I think it's nice that they did acknowledge it, and as John said earlier, they built a whole thing around it. I guess for me, we got one new tool, which is obviously Piet, which is great. If you're going to tool one new figure, then that was it. That was the one to do, because it's going to lead to so many more.
Yep.
But I kind of feel, exactly. But I kind of feel that they missed out a little bit. I know John said earlier they didn't have any new Ewoks. That would have been nice, but Rebel Commandos, I mean, that was the one,
that was
the
a big
4-pack that everybody was expecting. Everyone was thinking, this is going to come. It's going to come this year.
Yeah.
And,
the thing
now
is,
you kind of feel we missed the boat on that,
Well, I this is just me personally. I know a lot of people want the old, TVC 1.0 Commandos put out in a box like that. I'm thinking that they did not do it because they're hearing us on the fact that we've never had a Rebel trooper that doesn't have swivel hips. And they're like, you know what? Mm-hmm. Let's wait until we can do it justice like we did for the Black Series. So they're waiting on that, which I approve of.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I'd rather they wait and do it right than give me another iteration of this is going to frustrate me.
But also, you're not going to army build them if it's something that is a little bit out of date and something that down the line that they can update, then it just makes you hold back a bit on army building them.
Right.
Again, it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. True. As we're finding out, for those of us who bought a bunch of clones in 2021 and 2022.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oops.
But when you look at, 19 figures from Return of the Jedi this year, and then, 80 total for the year, that's a quarter of the line was Return of the Jedi this year. I mean, that's a very robust anniversary celebration, and I applaud that. I think it's great, and I think that they should continue to do very robust anniversary celebrations when applicable. And so, I'm hoping to see this for Revenge of the Sith. I'm hoping they have at least some stuff for the Phantom Menace. I understand, everybody's a little about the Phantom Menace because it killed off, TVC the first time around. I got it, but it'd be nice to get something like a new Maul or a new Obi-Wan or a new Qui-Gon. All three of those I think desperately need new figures, but just a little mini beat. But I am hoping to see a very substantial and robust 20th anniversary celebration for Revenge of the Sith. I'm really hoping that we see something of the magnitude that they've done for Return of the Jedi this year, because I think that it deserves it. And I don't think that the prequels are necessarily being done the justice in the line that they should be. And Clone Wars stuff is great, but it doesn't quite count. So any more than Rogue One counts as OT. It's not quite, so.
Ideally, it would be more like Return of the Jedi 40th than Clone Wars 20th.
Yes. Absolutely. But the prequel generation getting older, having the money to spend for that too, we're here as well. And so it is nice. It's not like the OT is being shafted. And especially look in that number of 19 things, you have a couple of the things that folks have been clamoring for years to complete very important mini beats from Return of the Jedi in forms of things like Tessic, Velkin, Tame, these little, background things that do mean a lot to people. So it's encouraging. I like it. speaking of Return of the Jedi 40th, unless there's anything else that you guys have. Throughout the year, we've been sharing people's favorite memories from Return of the Jedi in the spirit of the anniversary. We put out the call while back in May, and we were just kind of collecting them, live streams, podcasts, all that fun stuff. There's a ton of them that I haven't had a chance to share yet, but since this is our final podcast / event of the year, I'm just going to read a couple right now. First up is one from friend of the pod, Jay Eyes Studio. He writes, "My first experience watching the original Star Wars trilogy was in the 1997 special edition, and the best memory I had from Return of the Jedi was undoubtedly the space battle scene. The way the ships zoomed and weaved through the chaos of the battle was breathtaking. Furthermore, what I loved most about the scene was how well detailed each ship was, and it was fascinating to see the different variants of class ships in action. They put so much effort and passion into creating a believable space battle. Compared to the space battle scene in A New Hope, I felt that the one in Return of the Jedi was a significant improvement. It was more dynamic, more intense, and more engaging overall." J Guys Studio, I definitely agree. The Battle of Endor is just poof. Chef's kiss. Ben Swallow Collector 95 writes, "I've always loved Return of the Jedi. My favorite scene in the entire saga is Vader's redemption. On Christmas 1998, my parents gave me the Power of the Force Last Jedi Duel set, which became my most precious gift in my entire life." Yeah, dude, I feel that. And we've got another one from Return of the Alani. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. Usernames are always fun. They write, "At the age of 10, I went for the first time to a movie with my friends. They had to convince my parents that it was all good. It was my first ever Star Wars movie, and from there on out, it took off recreating scenes and collecting figures. Return of the Jedi is the evergreen movie for me. Only Rogue One and The Empire Strikes Back are on that same level." All right. And then the last one is going to be from J to the Rizze. They write, 5 years old, and it's one of my earliest memories. I went with my mom to watch it sometime in June. It was before the 4th of July. I don't remember the movie itself, but remember the absolute feeling of awe and wonder on the way home. Africa by Toto was on the radio in the car, and I just remember staring out the window, daydreaming about that galaxy far, far away. Return of the Jedi is my favorite of the original trilogy to this day. Solid memory and solid soundtrack to that memory for sure. Thank you again to everybody that submitted their stories, took the time to kind of share with us. It was really fun to celebrate together as a community, even though it was here and there. It's been really great. If I didn't share your stuff, it's not because I didn't see it. I read all of these. They're wonderful. I'm sorry, I just kind of ran out of time. But we'll see what happens next year, you know? Going back and looking at 2023, earlier in the year, you know, there's been some fan events throughout the year. We did one, March Madness. For those of you living under a rock, we've done that for 3 years now and coming up again soon. March Madness 2023 was a ton of fun this year. Thank you to all who participated, all who partnered with us to make it a reality. Thank you guys here sitting with me for, you know, being the team that can try to drive this past the finish line as we go, because it's a lot of work. John, good God, how does your brain still hold things after that? But yeah, you know, John, you take it from here actually for March Madness, just real quick. Just run us through some things from that. Just, we've talked about it so much. If you're curious about March Madness 2023, visit our Instagram. There's pinned posts about it. There's a podcast episodes about it. We don't need to say too much, but just a quick snapshot.
But yeah, one of the pinned posts we have is the figures that have appeared numerous times on the bracket by now that still need to be made. I think that shows community consensus, and we'll get into that with other events in a second here.
Consistency.
Showing some of the similarities and differences. But Count Dooku won the bracket this year, and he was ranked number 3 in the submissions. We'll just do the top 10 submissions real quick. From number 10 were Baze Malbus, Grand Inquisitor, who has been made, Director Krennic, who has been made, Luthen Rail, Cobb Vanth, Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi from A New Hope, Han Solo from A New Hope, Count Dooku, who is coming, Luke Skywalker Tatooine, and Princess Leia Organa from A New Hope, who is also coming. The final 4 in the March Madness were Count Dooku, Asajj Ventress, Sabine Wren, and Luke Skywalker Tatooine. Zooming out, I'll show you the Elite 8 as well. There was Darth Revan, who has been made, Cobb Vanth, the Tonica Sisters, and Harrison Dula, who has been made. So it's just interesting you know, a lot of them, it's nice that, you know, not to say it was the only factor, but we know that Hasbro has mentioned a number of times that they do look at these fan polls and community events as, you know, showing the community wants. So just to make sure to have your voice represented, vote in these sorts of things, including I'll just say the last figure standing as well. We'll talk about it all here, which is going on right now. Depends on when this podcast comes out. But at the time of recording, the top 4 figures were revealed yesterday, and they are Balin Skoll from Ahsoka, as well as Cobb Vanth, the Tonica sisters, again, and Moman Nadon Hammerhead, who was ranked number 14 in our submissions, and the Tonicas were number 12. So it shows, you know, people tend to think there's a lot of difference across different platforms and things, but there's a lot more consensus than people, I think, might initially imagine, which is interesting to see. But yes, the Tonicas and Hammerhead and, you know, other characters like Ventress, they keep doing well in these sorts of things. So hopefully Hasbro is taking notice as well. But yeah, so for that, go to last.figure.standing on Instagram to check the calendar, see where they are when this episode comes out, and vote if you haven't voted in whatever round is going on when you hear this. So this initiative is coming at you from John Miko from the SW The Vintage Collection Facebook group, Chris Swansky from Bantha Skull, Tim from Bosk's Bounty, as well as some assists. Tyler, you were on one of their streams last week. They've had streams with Victoria from Victoria's Cantina and Yak Face, Jason from Yak Face as well. So check that out. It's been a lot of fun. And then gear up for March Madness, your top 25 submissions. Any characters that didn't make it into the top 10, the last figure standing, if you want to, you know, shout out those guys a little bit, if you had trouble making your top 10 list, now you get to make a top 25 list, folks. So get excited for that. I need to rest up for it. Try to figure out how I'm going to go through all your lists this year. But I think, Evan, you've got some good spreadsheet ideas that we've, you know, we've been taking a peek at some things under the hood this year already. So get ready for that.
I'm hoping, kind of, that, you know, now that we know that at everyone is something that we can do on Facebook, I kind of am expecting more participation than ever before this year, which will be an even bigger effort than in previous years. Every year it grows, but you know, we didn't know in years past that we could do that, and now we do. So I think there's going to be a lot of participation this year. It's going to be nuts. Yeah. But
we'll be bugging everybody to do it. So
yes,
get ready for that.
Yeah, be like Santa now. Start making your list, and then we'll check it twice.
Right,
at least
3 times
in the coming
4
months.
times.
Yeah.
500 times.
So.
I'm still hoping that some of my lists are going to get ticked off before we have to submit it. I don't know why. It's just a little hope. You think, come on, let's just get rid of some of those other little ones that we've been hanging around for the last 3 years. Let's just get a few of those more off, and then, you know, I think that will just help, because it's nice. I think this year it's going to be fun, because I think there's been a lot of figures that have been hanging around a lot for the last couple of years that have all, as John just listed, a lot of them have now been made. So your Revens, you know, your pre-Vizsla, all of those figures that always seem to be up there are now out and done. So I think it makes it more interesting this year. I think the 64 at least is going to have some real newness in it. But what, you know, it'd be nice to get some of those other long-standing ones out as well.
Yes, 100%.
And, you know, Last Figure Standing has been a nice sneak preview too, since they're doing it on the heels of some new media that wasn't around when we were doing March Madness this year, when we were collecting the data submissions. So, you know, things like Balin and Shin and Merrick and these characters will be, you know, maybe their profiles will be boosted. They exist now as characters. So I'm sure we'll see those characters, you know, make some big time appearances on lists. You know, those are characters that the community seems to also want on top of these established OT things as well. So it's fun. I'm excited to see where it goes, guys.
And then there were, as we said, there have been so many made from the bracket since then. Again, not because of the bracket, all that, whatever. But just so many have been ticked off that people have been asking for years now, which has been awesome to see.
Yeah.
And
I mean, all 3 of the champions, Bo-Katan, Kersantin, and Count Dooku, all 3 of them have been made. and whether that's just a nice coincidence or whether we helped, influence that. At the end of the day, 3 for 3 is great. So we applaud Hasbro for that. It's wonderful. And we hope that we can be 4 for 4 soon with whoever the 2024 champion is. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
Hopefully they pipeline Balin, because he's probably going to win Las Vegas Standing. He's probably going to win March Madness.
Probably
just getting pipelined already. So
get that out of the way now, guys.
Yeah.
But speaking of 3 for 3, there was a little thing that happened over the summer leading us into the fall, and it was the Ghost HasLab, an effort that also helped us check off quite a non-negligible chunk of figures from the March Madness want list in form of the Rebels crew. Hashtag get the ghost, hashtag got the ghost, hashtag yes, hashtags, so many all the time. Sorry. But yeah, that should be arriving late 2024 if all goes, according to plan. Yeah. So any one of you guys want to take bullet point 2 here? No? Okay.
I'll do it. All right. Sorry.
I lost where you were on the list.
So yes, we're already seeing the tooling and overall success from it, leading to things in the main line, like those alternate versions of Ezra, Zeb, and Kanan, coming as fan channel exclusives, as well as, and we know we're getting, the Rebels mural cards completed via Sabine and Chopper, coming to Hasbro Pulse sometime in the new year. It's awesome to finally have Rebels figures, starting out with Thrawn. Of course, Tyler, they knew they had to get you Thrawn immediately. Yeah. So starting with there and going through the main crew.
I love you this year. You're my favorite.
Yeah. So, HasLabs are separate from mainline budget as they are crowdfunded. But, again, huge congrats to this community for putting up and making TVC, as I said, 3 for 3 and successful HasLabs, and not just successful, very successful HasLabs. Further expanding the tooling library and giving Hasbro a little shot of confidence in our line. So not much else to say since we've talked so much about it for those 3 months that it was running. I'm just plain old excited and happy about it still.
Yep. And that's from a media that some people doubted, would be successful. And obviously there were no worries there. So
yeah, it did all right. So
it did.
But yeah, so that was an awesome thing. One of my favorite parts of this year. But on the theme of favorites, let's kind of dig into what we all thought. What were 3 of your favorite figures from the year, which was your favorite overall? Let's go around the table here. Tyler, let's start with you, since you have a clear favorite for sure. I'd be shocked if it's not what I think it is.
Yes, of course. Grand Admiral Thrawn is my favorite of the year, favorite of the decade, favorite of my life ever. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe not. I don't know. Am I serious? Am I kidding? I don't know. I really like the Dark Time Vader too, but that wasn't from this year. So.
Out of interest, Tyler, out of interest, if Hasbro give us a Lars version of the sculpt, the portrait, which do you think will be your favourite? Do you think that you would prefer it with that live action look, or do you like this Rebels one for what it is?
I like I think it's going to come down to the portrait, whether they nail the portrait or not, because, and I've joked to John about this a lot, but in the first episode of Ahsoka, I think it's pretty clear that that Lars is wearing some kind of wig, and his hair was just all jacked up. I mean, it was like this, what is going on with your hair, bro? But they sorted it out as the season went on, and he looked more, like how he's supposed to look in the latter episodes, in episodes 7 and 8. So if he looks more like that, then that might be.
Oh, I'm sure they'll nail it.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get it right. But it's hard to say without seeing the portrait yet. But yeah. I will say that I hope they take note of the fact that he is wearing the poofy Yodper pants in Ahsoka and give him those instead of the tight to the leg ones that he got with the Rebels figure. Because there is a difference there. So I also hope his uniform is nice and white, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to ask,
would you want them be though?
Yeah. Do you want them to spend the money on like changing the sculpt at all for like damage to his uniform, like some of the wears, or do you want that through deco?
I mean, part of me is like, it'd be really cool if they put out, you know, some tatter on the deco to make it faithful to the show, and then maybe Estheron is, you know, featured in media in upcoming, you know, Ahsoka season 2 or the, you know, Filoni movie or whatever. Or maybe he has a more stark white uniform and they put him out a third time and he's got a more stark white uniform that way. I don't know. I would just like a nice white pristine uniform at some point. I think everybody can agree that the Rebels one is too off-white, but I don't want to go on too much of a Thrawn rant. I'm sorry, but you guys asked me.
It's allowed. It's allowed. It's if we're celebrating 2023. You've got your most wanted figure. Like that is a cause for celebration. So.
Yes, and I will also add that excitingly, I got invited to be a guest article writer for Bantha Skull to review this figure. That review will be on their website, banthaskull.com, very soon, if I can finish my Star Destroyer bridge today like I'm supposed to, and be a good boy. But yeah, so head to Bantha Skull in the coming days to see a more in-depth look at that figure. But
hell yeah.
As far as the other two, though, I'm going to go with Revan and the Grand Inquisitor. And it's difficult, though, because this year just had so many absolute bangers and so many that the community has been asking for so long. Like, you know, Cad Bane and, you know, Kersantin being the champion and Paz Vizsla. People have been calling for Paz for a long time, and what an awesome figure that is. I mean, it's hard. There's a lot of honorable mentions and runner-ups, but I don't know. It's hard to say. Overall, this year was just such an incredible year. It left a high bar for Hasbro for next year. So,
oh, definitely. Lewis, how about you, man?
Yeah, well, I see Tyler was just talking about Paz. I've got the 3 here sitting on my desk. So yeah, I mean, Paz for me, I think I got him very early on in the year. And I remember saying, you know, when I featured him on my page that, you know, this for me could well be figure of the year. You know, it's going to be hard to beat. And I think I still sit here now looking at that and figure and think, yeah, we've had some great figures, but it's outstanding. I mean, it's great as a deluxe figure. It's got some nice accessories with it. Yeah. Could he have got on a card? I don't know. I mean, he's got a big weapon, but yeah, I don't know. I can't fault that figure at all. I just think it's fantastic. So for me, that's going to go down as my first choice. And I think second choice, again, I think Tyler just honourable mentioned some of these, but again, Cad Bane. I think largely for me, he's always been one of my favourite characters anyway. So to finally get him in a realistic version, you know, in a really well articulated version, I think that's why he's up in my top 3. He's not a perfect figure. You know, his elbows, we talked about elbows earlier. He's not perfect, but again, I think it's that bias. Same as Tyler with Thrawn, really. I mean, you know, let's be honest, he's probably not as good as some of the other figures, but it's your personal favourite. And I think so for me, Cad Bane, it's the same, really. It's that personal thing that, you know, I always wanted to get him in there, but we do need that Cobb Vanth to go with him. Yeah. And then, and then third is BD1. No, I'm kidding. So obviously, Cal Kestis.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I'm kind of cheating a little bit. I actually got this one last year, and I actually looked back, and I got it on the 21st of December, so it just squeaked in into last year for me. But it's again, it's a personal thing that I love the character, I love the games. I really, really, really still want to see a Fallen Order version, and obviously Second Sister, and you know some other characters, but I'd love to see more from Survivor as well, because I just think it's great. And I love this figure. I love the fact that they've reused him in, you know, already. Tessix, you know, used his legs. And I'd love to see Hasbro do some repaints of this. I know people don't like the word repaints and they hold their hands up in horror, but, you know, because you can customize him in the game, I'd love to see the fact, you know, give him some different color trousers, give him a poncho, give him some different color poncho, lightsabers. You know, again, I know our friend Findor Moon often pulls it up, you know, but a deluxe version with some different lightsabers, ponchos. Well, it'd be
Yeah,
amazing.
double-bladed one.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And
And they did that for Black Series for the Fallen Order version.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Does the Black
So,
Series
you know,
version come with like one of those little trunks that you open up and you get like, hilt pieces out of or whatever? Did it come with a little box?
I don't think so.
No, it was just a different poncho.
Maybe it was just something that some 3D printer made. But that's an idea for something they could do.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
something like that.
The Black Series one had a boggling too, another creature
Yeah.
they could add, little creature they could add.
And and when I play with him, I often give him the handlebar moustache and a Mohican, so I wouldn't mind a new head sculpt as well, just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. It'll be curious to see if the ISB Cal has the same head or if it's a different head sculpt.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, happy to see that one. And it just a quick honourable mention. I think I'll cheat and not necessarily say a figure, but for me the Piat. The Piat is the one I would give an honourable mention to, just because of the sculpt.
Yeah.
Because I think what they've got out of that this year, I think makes it a great figure. And I love that 4-pack. Thrawn is slightly tooled off of that. But yeah, I think that one definitely gets an honourable mention.
Likewise.
Absolutely.
Good call out. And also the Clone Trooper too.
Yeah. All right, John. I saw you typing away.
All right. I have so many honorable mentions. I can't even go to 3. I'm sorry. But, one of my favorites of the year has got to be Sabine. I just look at her. The sculpt was amazing. The paint was amazing. The helmet's too big. We know this, but it's a great all new sculpted figure. And it goes with some of the other things that I love this year. The amazing newness and a lot of animated characters making the jump to live action, like Cad Bane, Sabine, Hera, Chopper. I still need to get an open Chopper, but Hera is another fantastic, amazing figure, and Chopper looks great. Cad Bane is also very high on the list. And then, so in terms of, I would say Cad Bane number 3, Sabine number 2. We'll get to number 1. This year, there was also some incredibly smart reuse. Maybe not for everybody, but it hit my, nostalgia buttons with Nisa on a single card for the first time. R5D4 with the red panels on the back, which I have been asking for over a decade. I know it's something small, but it's something they have always gotten wrong and something they finally got right this year. That's the kind of update that it shows they're paying attention. It shows they care about these goofy little nerdy details that we so care about. And like the Vader updates, both the Return of the Jedi version and the Obi-Wan Kenobi Duels In version, but they finally got Return of the Jedi removable helmet Vader with the correct battle damaged hand, which again, another detail they have never gotten right until now.
Yeah, big time. Yep.
As well as the skiff guard set, with finally finishing the skiff guards from that first skiff with Velkin, finally getting Tame into the line after 40 years. Again, maybe there's a reason they waited 40 years. Maybe there were other better choices to do first, but they finally got them into the line, which is awesome. And I gotta say, the best of all, the number 1 figure of the year, you know what it's going to be? Life Day Chewbacca.
There it is.
And the fact, something I
the
literally...
oldest figure.
Yeah,
oldest figure we
That's
got this year.
2004 swivel hips.
This is so John.
All you need So yes, as much as I don't want swivel hips on some figures, he's under the Life Day robes. The robe is what counts. The robe and the orb is all that counts. But, I never thought we'd get a holiday special Chewbacca figure ever. It's been, 45 years since that special came out. It's something goofy. It's something fun. It's something that celebrates the fan side of things, maybe. It's not an official, part of the canon. I guess Life Day is now. It's been slowly reintroduced over the years. As I see these picture books, as I see these cookbooks, as I see these ornaments, I say we're gonna get a Chewie figure soon in that Life Day robe, please, for the love of God. And it finally happened this year. So that was just something, hips could be better, whatever. It just makes me smile ear to ear, and I love it.
But I mean, it's great as well to get a holiday figure that's not a cheesy kind of, like some of these Black Series, they're painting a stormtrooper to look like a snowman, and they're, giving them Christmas jumpers, and that stuff. It just doesn't sit well. At least, we've got a proper holiday figure here that actually is from the Star Wars universe, and I agree with you there. I think that's great.
Yeah. And that, smiling ear to ear when you get it, that ultimately is a huge part, I think, of why we do a lot of this stuff, is getting that dopamine hit. It's something we love. It's something that makes us happy. So whatever form it takes in 3 3/4 inch, it's valid, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh boy, I'm a simple man, but
he sees Obi-Wan, he pressed like.
yeah. I had Paz as my 3rd favorite, but honestly, the more I look at Cal and Sabine, those two are jockeying for the number 3 spot. I think I think I'm going to give it to Sabine. I think she's my third favorite. Second favorite of the year would be Darth Vader Duel's End Showdown, whatever. I absolutely, loved the updates that they made to that Vader. Again, more than I thought they would. More than I thought they would do for it in terms of updates to it. The head sculpt underneath, amazing. And then number one, of course, being Obi-Wan Showdown from that same set. That 2-pack, honestly, just that is close to how you felt about getting Thrawn, Tyler. That's how I felt, because that scene, I know the show's not everybody's bag, but that scene in the show was something incredibly moving to me. It's something that really hit for me, and I loved it. And it's my favorite character, Obi-Wan. So getting a surprising amount of newness in this figure was, friggin' awesome, man. I look at this figure and it shoots me back to being 8 years old and getting Jedi Duel Obi-Wan from the episode 1 line, and just being like, yeah, dude, again, smiling ear to ear. I got that little nostalgia hit, that childhood feel. It's awesome. So I was happy to get it. And, thanks Hasbro for exceeding my expectations for this set. I mean, we even got a new head sculpt on it. I was braced for the, grumpy old man looking horrible head sculpt we got on the Wandering Jedi.
That head sculpt is phenomenal. It's so much better. No disrespect to whoever sculpted that first head.
Oh yeah,
this one, it just blows it out of the water.
Yep.
And when I say horrible for that last one, I think about it, and the Wandering Jedi Obi-Wan was probably my favorite figure of 2022. Just again, that character and the efforts behind it, even if it doesn't always work in terms of how they sculpted it. I'm here for Obi-Wan's, man. So I just was thrilled. I was over the moon to get a meaningfully updated one. Now, if only we can do something about these legs. So on the next one, here we go. Hopefully I'll have a new figure to be super excited about. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
I would also like to add too, I think it's super cool that we got 2 different removable helmet Vaders with different portraits this year. I mean, how cool is that? And they're markedly different portraits, super cool. Yeah. Very cool.
A perfect example of smart reuse.
Yes.
They got an amazing Vader figure last year, and let's crank out those variations.
Yeah.
To make 3 awesome figures.
Give me that Revenge of the Sith version for 2025. Hasbro. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Give me that Malachor version.
Got the A New Hope version coming at least, but yeah.
Keep them coming.
Yeah.
But you picking those, Evan, just reminded me. I mean, that's the one thing that we have had this year, which again is well worth mentioning, is the 2-packs, because it's something that all of a sudden we've seen a lot of these, haven't we, come in recently, and they're all great. They're great. It's a great way. I mean, I think cards are coming in better condition in those packs.
Oh yeah,
they have
I don't know if people are seeing the rub on them. They've got the paper in.
They have the tissue paper, yeah,
unpunched.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, they tick a lot of boxes for carded collectors, and I think again, it's a good way of getting out a couple of figures. It's a good way of bringing things out together. So again, we moan about, you give us this one figure, who am I going to stand it up against? Well, again, you can put these figures in straight away. You can put them in a fighting stance and on a display, and they work together. And I just think the 2-pack's been a great addition to the line this year.
Absolutely. I feel like there's a ton they can do with it. I've been thinking about it a lot. We'll see where that goes, but I so thrilled, to have things that go together, and kind of in the Obi-Wan pack, like the card back. I'm starting to think now, sorry, tangentially here, favorite card backs of the year. I loved the Showdown Obi-Wan card back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just incredible. We've gotten some awesome card backs, and I'm excited to get the Hera Wave in hand to get that extra splash of color on the back moving forward, back to the 1.0 kind of look. But on the 2-packs, having on the spines, having the big splash of color and a nice photo of the figures. I'm glad that the vintage collection, for those of us who collect cardboard, we're getting a little bit more vibrancy to our cardboard stacks. So.
And I brought it up before, but having Hera and then Jedi Revan both on the purple cards was awesome to see. And you get a little additional splash of color with the Ewoks card, and Nisa has the pink. And it is nice seeing them. We get a lot of greens and blues and that sort of thing. So it's nice to see them doing a lot of different interesting things. So I think the Obi-Wan card is probably my favorite card of the year. Just the photo is just so awesome.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, always in motion, the future is. Or you know what, John, you got the Yoda impression.
Always in motion, the future is. That's his angry, serious version.
Oh, well, hey, let's take a quick look ahead into 2024, though. So,
We've talked about all this before. I'll just read them off real quick. We got a fan channel wave coming with Count Dooku, the March Madness winner from this year. The Phase 1 Clone Trooper, Finn from The Force Awakens, and Captain Cassian Andor from Rogue One. We only know of one mainline figure that has been shown so far, which is Hu Yang. The Hu Yang gang stays winning, folks. We got a Troop Builder pack, which is the Phase 2 Clone Trooper set from the Siege of Mandalore, as seen in the Clone Wars Season 7 and the flashbacks from Ahsoka, with 1 501st, 1 332nd, 2 Phase 2 shinies, and everybody's got a lot to say. We'll hear about it later. We've heard about it before. We got the Jabba the Hutt set, which is a Pulse exclusive. You can plug it into your Boba Fett's throne room to make it Jabba's throne room instead. It comes with Jabba, his dais, Salacious Crumb, 8d8, but not 8d8's elbows, sad to say. And, of course, as we mentioned, the HasLab Ghost, which will hopefully show up late 2024 if all goes as planned. Quick aside, I am looking forward to seeing updates on that throughout the year. That's something fun they've done with the other HasLab, something I am looking forward to here as well.
I wish we got a workbench book for the Razor Crest that we got for the sail barge.
I concur.
Let me take a big breath and tell you about all the pipelines just to refresh everybody's memory. From San Diego Comic-Con on July 21st, we got Axe Woves, hopefully a Season 3 version, Mandalorian Fleet Commander, Din Djarin from Season 3, and Din Grogu from Season 3, which we did actually see at London Comic-Con in the booth, and everyone forgot about it, including us when we talked about it.
The crowd went mild.
He's got... From the Pulse fan stream on August 29th, we have Sabine on the Rebels mural card back, Chopper on the Rebels mural card back, Deluxe Jango Fett, Captain Rex from the Bad Batch apparently, Darth Vader from A New Hope, R2-D2 from A New Hope, probably a refresh, not 100% sure on that, Stormtrooper refresh, Luke Skywalker X-Wing Piolet, as they say, another refresh, and then an all-new Princess Leia from A New Hope, nice little A New Hope beat. From PulseCon on September 22nd, we heard about Cal Kestis in his Imperial officer disguise and the Mandalorian Judge, another Mandalorian Season 3 character. And then from the MCM London Comic-Con on October 28th, we got the Ezra Bridger from Lothal, the Ahsoka version from that little hologram, Kanan Jarrus from Seasons 1 and 2, Zeb Orrelios from Seasons 1 and 2 of Rebels, and of course, Captain Enoch and the Night Troopers Trooper Pack, which is 19 things, plus some more figures from those, some from our multi-packs. So we know a good chunk of stuff coming next year. There's, probably a lot more coming if this year's any indication. So, yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, bring it on, though. I mean, I'm looking at my pre-order list now, and since that last wave's dropped in, I've got very little on there, actually.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we've got, like you say, the Hu Yang wave. We don't know anything else that's in that wave at the moment. I actually do have that whole wave on order with Star Action figures because that's just the way I always order them. But, so it'll be interesting to see if, I'm assuming some of these here are going to be in that wave, but it'll be interesting how quickly they can get these out because it's going to be a long wait otherwise. I think that wave's currently marked for March. At the moment, it could come early. But sitting here in December and sort of early December still, really, it could be a barren couple of months unless they can try and give us a few more. I don't know. Who knows?
I think
anything. Keep me going.
On Pulse in the States, Hu Yang is listed as June 1st.
Yeah.
Wow.
which
I doubt it'll be that far. And then Count Dooku is March, I want to say. I'm typing right now.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that is March. Sorry. Yeah, I got those two mixed up. Yeah. That
one's
March.
Again, they always ship a little early. Yeah. May 1st,
Yeah.
Count Dooku says on Pulse anyway. Sometimes it's different site to site, but hopefully it won't be that long.
Like none of it matters, and it just shows up randomly.
But there is always a little bit of quiet at the beginning of the year. The stores kind of reset after the holidays, and so we always get worried and say, "Oh my God, the line's dying because I didn't buy anything in January." Like, no.
I don't think it's so much that. I think it's more the case of we get this lull now where nothing's coming in.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, everything starts dropping together. And I think that's when people I think it would be nice to just have that more constant flow.
Yeah,
because we're all still going to buy them, but it's just nice if you can spread it rather than,
And that was an issue with 2023 for me, I found, where there was a long period of time with not much. And then it was really that whole, hey, you going to set aside some money for the Ghost? Yeah. good luck, Bucko. We're going to charge you for 40 things on that same day. And I was like, okay. Oh no. So,
no.
Yeah. Oh no. We did get, or Lewis, how you were saying, looking at your pre-order list, it is nice to kind of feel caught up and to, I like that we have a pipeline to have a passing awareness of things to kind of expect, but then it is also nice knowing that maybe there's some surprises in there and, what else could be coming. It's fun to let our minds and imaginations go wild. Historically, I feel like I recall them doing like pulse streams in late January, early February, the past couple of years. So I feel like we could probably bank on some reveals or pipelines coming in. Oh my God, that's weird to say. That's a month and a half from now, but 2 months from now, but
yeah,
there it is.
And we're still Gift the Galaxy is still running at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
For another week.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. And that's what gave us the
fingers crossed.
The Clone Trooper 4-pack was part of that recently.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So that might be it for TVC. We don't know.
Yeah.
But who knows?
And being caught up on Vintage Collection pre-order list, I also look at, for those of us filthy morons that collect retro, all of us here except Tyler, we're caught up on that now since the Book of Boba Fett wave is shipping, and the only thing in the pipeline for retro is the Phantom Menace wave from Celebration. Was that, or is that Comic-Con that they? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But it's coming eventually. So interesting.
There was, just to give a quick snapshot of retro real quick, it was nice to see there was a wave and a 6-pack for Return of the Jedi, a lot of that, and then a lot of newness from Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and then even another 6-pack from the long delayed A New Hope 6-pack volume 2, and then even some more Empire Strikes Back Bounty Hunters. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
If you like 3.75, we celebrate 3.75 here.
Yeah. Retro had a good
everybody.
year. Retro had a good year.
But it's interesting as well that they have acknowledged already that they're going to be covering the Phantom Menace. So, as Tyler was saying earlier, you would hope that does mean that TVC are also going to get, we're going to get something. Let's hope.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already kind of, I think, gotten ready to soften the blow by saying it's going to be a prequel beat overall. So here's Count Dooku and yet another clone trooper. So I'm not.
And that's all you get.
My hopes aren't super high for Phantom Menace stuff next year. It would be awesome. Where's my kids turned walled, for the love of God?
Yeah. Maybe we could get for the third year in a row another Slave One repaint for
Django
Attack of the Clones. But
yeah.
And 2024 looking media wise too, was it recently? It just kind of came out. I think the only confirmed things coming in 2024 now are the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, and those are both later in the year.
Yeah.
So, and I think the Bad Batch
we don't have confirmed dates, but
yeah, and the Bad Batch I think is not. They didn't include it in that list, but the Bad Batch is definitely coming at some point next year.
Who knows? It's kind of assumed because they've been posting online that sort of the post production has been finished on that. So I think it's kind of ready to. It's locked and loaded for whenever they decide to get it out. So, maybe they're saving it for another day. Who knows?
It would be nice in some ways if it doesn't overlap with another Star Wars show. I mean, again, with The Mandalorian and Bad Batch this year. Was it this year? Last year? This year.
Yeah.
You kind of felt that your attention was divided too much. It'd be nice to just take one in, and then move on and then take another one in when there's that lull. I think perhaps I might have appreciated the Bad Batch a bit more because I think I was too focused on what was going on in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
There were some days where I would watch one first and then the other, and then like other people online would be talking, I didn't want to see spoilers for the other show. So it's like, it's hard to get the fan excitement going.
Yeah.
But,
and I'm hopeful that for me, I wonder if it'll maybe soften the blow since we won't kind of we'll have a nice lull in Star Wars. I mean, we're so spoiled now where it's like, oh, we have to go 6 months without a new Star Wars. The sky's falling. What are you doing, Lucasfilm? Where, it used to be years of waiting. I'm kind of hopeful that maybe this kind of lull in media will, one, make it feel less bad when we're getting figures for shows that we saw a year ago. Being in that, those shows were still the most recent things that we saw.
Right.
Those are still current and relevant, and we're not watching new things every week, just being like, oh my God, I want that figure so bad, and then never getting it, which is frustrating. It's like, oh yeah, we're watching Book of Boba Fett. Here, have this Mandalorian season 1 figure instead. And it's like, okay, no. So
Yeah, I'm not super confident that they're going to use this time to catch up on stuff, but
that wasn't what I was trying to say.
No, I know, not that you were saying that, but a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people being like, maybe they'll use it to catch up on stuff we miss, and it's like, maybe, yeah, that would be great. Maybe I'll win the lottery too, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I do hope, though, that maybe in some of the delay and the far away stuff, I know they cite the 12 to 18 month window for this stuff. While, we are 12 to 18 months out from some things, maybe or season 2. I don't know, but it would be nice then as the year progresses that maybe they get more shared with them from Lucasfilm, where they can get a little more ahead of stuff, or have maybe things in the fire for not as far after some of these things air later in 2025 and 2026. So
because Skeleton Crew is supposed to show up right about now.
Yeah.
So we don't know if there's anything planned for that they had to shift, or if there was nothing planned for that and now they have time.
I would lean towards there was nothing planned for that. If I had to hazard a guess. So especially since Skeleton Crew is about a bunch of kids, right? They seem to not want to put kid figures in the vintage collection at all. So,
yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Except Grogu.
Yeah, well, but he's old. So,
50-year-old kid.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, anything else, guys? Any buttons you want to put on the year?
I just want to. I mentioned this earlier, but I think that Hasbro really deserves to be applauded for this year in terms of the diversity and wealth of offerings, the new expressions that they've brought back into the line, all the different boxes they've checked. I think that the vintage collection is the healthiest that it's looked since the line came back. I think we're on a great trajectory. The line is looking really good. Maybe hoping those prices don't creep any higher. But other than that, I think TVC is in a really good place in terms of, like I said, the diversity of offerings, like the new stuff with, the 2-packs and beasts coming back and small vehicles and slightly larger vehicles and, Pulse exclusive big dioramas and HasLabs. Like keep it going, Hasbro. We want to give you our money, so give us the goods. Get going.
Yeah.
No, but really, if Hasbro, if you're listening, I applaud you big time. This was a great year. Seriously.
Yeah, I agree.
And we saw a lot of things that get addressed that we have collectively as a community talked about over the last couple of years. We're starting to see Hasbro take the feedback in meaningful ways, or at least see them take a crack at addressing an issue that people have brought up, or a concern that people have brought up. Sometimes they swing it a little too far in the other direction, where it's like, wait, let's meet in the middle somewhere. But yeah, I think it's been very encouraging to see a lot of change in the line for the better, as we all just get involved. We're all so passionate about it. We all collect it. We love collecting it. And it's nice to see some of that passion seemingly present in what they're doing with it. So it's nice.
But
I like it.
I just remember, I think it was last year that we did sort of this year in review as a live stream, right? And we had Jason from Yak Face on with us, right? And also Victoria, I believe. And I remember asking them, what do you think is still missing from the line that makes TVC still feel incomplete? And I remember that we talked about small vehicles and beasts, and they have addressed both of those things. So they're very clearly listening. They've knocked out a huge chunk of, the March Madness bracket from several years in a row, and even just more recent stuff. So they're clearly paying attention to what the community is asking for and doing, I trust, their very best to deliver. I think they're doing a great job. Honestly, great job.
Yeah.
So.
There's always room for more, but
sure.
Yes. I absolutely agree.
Not to end on a down note, I would like at least one other member of the Bad Batch pipeline by the time the show ends. That would be nice.
The Bad Batch.
I'll just throw that out there.
Dark little cloud hanging over
That's fair.
everything all the time.
But they yes, as you said, all the new expressions and the fact that, you know, everything, we've already said it, but yeah, I do think it was a great year overall.
Yeah, I mean, heck, you know, we went from being able to see 6 all new figures on the pegs over a calendar year to seeing 16 to 18, depending on your point of view. That's great. I mean, not all on pegs. Like Bib was in that set, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. The spirit of what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to see that more newness was happening.
Big progress. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice I'll just say real quick, looking ahead at the new stuff, I'm looking forward to more Mandalorian Season 3 figures as well. Hopefully there's more coming. It is nice to see the original trilogy focus kind of turn back to A New Hope. Hopefully there's some more coming from that as well. Finally, a new Leia, some smart repack choices, and I love finally getting Rebels in the line, and I'm hoping to see more of that continue with secondary characters and villains and things like that. So that's all things I would love to see in the coming years.
Yeah.
Well, looking at 2024, maybe look at it through this lens a little bit too. At least this is kind of how I'm looking, where we look at this year, say 16 all new figures, and you look at the pipeline, and I think there's 2 that are presumably all new in that lineup. So it's like, ooh, what else is coming next year? So yeah.
And I think we've said before, they don't always pipeline mainline figures. So what we're seeing here could be, you know, your exclusives and your, you know, filler stuff to some degree anyway.
Yeah.
So I think, I agree. There's some good stuff here. There's some stuff here that not everyone's excited about, but I mean, I think there's some still good stuff here. And I think it's enough to make me, look forward to what's coming next.
Yeah.
Until Finn and Cassian kill the entire line.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
The things that we explicitly ask them not to do. So yes. All right, gang. Well, any final thoughts before I wreck this bus?
No.
Wreck it.
All right. Well, I think this is a good point to wrap it up. We've been chatting for a couple hours now. Always feels great. Always a pleasure. Guys, it's been a wonderful year in the books with you. I look forward to what we're doing again. It's the existential dread, but it's also excitement that March Madness is coming up so soon. So listeners, get to thinking about your top 25s, and you guys in this chat with me right now, start thinking about your top 25 so I can start getting ahead of some of the graphic work as we go, because that is time consuming.
Just don't think about retools.
Yeah. All right. So I think that'll do it for this episode and this year of the SWTVC podcast. Real quick, apologies to the kind reviewer who called out in his review that he hates the running joke of all of the hashtags. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. So, as always, keep 375 alive, back TVC, finish the 96, happy holidays, get ready for March Madness 24, and may the force be with you.